The other thing that I just witnessed tonight, and I want to give you a little thought experiment. So one of your goals is to be a more cohesive board. And so as a thought experiment, I would say, Dr. Forager had suggested splitting something. And as a thought experiment, if you had gone ahead and split it, would the results be any different? Instead, there was a large argument that seemed to occur, which created some divisiveness. And it was really an argument and divisiveness that was created by someone that you hire here and pay a lot of money to, who really didn't factually have specific bylaws or state laws that he could point to. I would suggest that if you're going to have that type of a person here, you make sure you have an actual expert who can actually refer to specific things. That would be much more helpful. If you're just dealing with someone who you're going to pay a lot of money to, and he can't really tell you definitively, get someone else. Thank you.
Going to move to divide the question on C.
What does that mean? I wasn't really sure what that was.
I'm calling for a division of the question on C.
This one.
Superintendent
Just
and then director.
I'm not really sure what you're asking.
Sorry.
Sure, sorry.
I apologize. So sir, you're asking to make this two separate motions. One would be abolish the 1.0 FTE Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education. And the second question would be 1.0 create a Director of Elementary Education. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, it's two separate questions. So we'd vote on each part.
Again, this is the way these work is this is a recommendation upon the superintendent to abolish one and create the other. So I don't think you can actually separate the question at this point. If you disagree with it in its entirety, you would vote no.
No, you can, there are obviously two different questions here. One is to abolish a position, the other is to create one. You can abolish.
Yeah,
both.
but I think the super just, and the superintendent can speak for herself.
Yeah.
I think that this is really, it's not really an abolition and replace. It's really changing a title is what you're doing. You're taking the FTE of assistant superintendent and creating a director of elementary education and intervention. So I think that if the goal is to abolish one, so for example, if you separate two and say, yes, we'll abolish one and no, we're not going to create the new one, what you've effectively done is reduced an FTE. If that's not the superintendent's recommendation, the board can bring that up under new business. But if the board votes to no to this, that's fine. I've never seen, unless the superintendent is recommending to do that as two separate questions.
No, it's a parliamentary procedure. It's actually not even a debatable question. You just do it and vote on it. It's not even up for debate.
I just said I've never seen this before because again,
Well, there's always a first time or, whatever, but I'm saying I want a separate vote on each part. There's no need to have both positions. Or you could say abolish one and create the other like she wants to do, or you could say abolish both
But yeah, but.
or whatever.
But,
There's no,
sir, you're,
they're totally independent.
well, what you have here is this is a recommendation upon the superintendent.
Yes.
If she's not recommending to separate these two, where one can get abolished and one doesn't get replaced, if she says that's not my recommendation, then her motion is not being adhered to. If the superintendent put it on as two separate motions, that's fine. Remember, the way these things work is it's upon the recommendation of the superintendent. If my point to you is that you can't do this as two separate questions because the superintendent didn't separate it in that fashion when creating this agenda. So at this juncture, it should be, if you don't want to create a new position, you would vote no. If your goal, if what
But
you're,
then
if what
that
you're.
means the other position survives, right?
So if this is a no vote,
Yeah.
if it's a 5-4 no vote,
Mhm.
there will remain an assistant superintendent of elementary education. If by separating it, the result is you abolish the assistant superintendent of elementary education, and then there's a vote to not have a director of elementary education. I don't believe, and Dr. Raleigh can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that is the superintendent's recommendation to reduce this position overseeing elementary education and intervention.
Would you say though, would you agree though, the board has the ultimate authority here?
The board
As to
ultimately
what
has the
positions
authority, but that would be a completely separate.
Yeah, but you
Vote.
agree the board has. the ultimate
Absolutely they do,
authority.
just not on this,
Okay.
not doing it here. If the board says, we want to abolish, we want a motion on the thing under new business, I want to have a motion under new business to abolish the assistant superintendent's position and not create another one, the board has that authority, absolutely. But breaking this up, this is the superintendent's recommendation. So that's something you could do as a separate motion under new business, just to abolish. So for example, I guess it would depend on his votes, but the superintendent did not recommend breaking this up into two positions.
I'd still like a separate vote. I still call for the division of the question. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay.
No, I would, you know what, at this juncture, they're asking to separate this into two questions. Again, this is not the is this your recommendation?
It is not the superintendent's recommendation.
Okay, so you guys are separating a question. That's not the recommendation of the superintendent. Do a roll call, Julie, to see if the rest of the board agrees with deviating from the superintendent's recommendation.
Ms. Bradford.
There's a point of order, though, point of order. I think that stops everything based on what I read. Point of order. Can we do this or can't we?
Should we
According,
table it?
according to Mac, we can't.
Well, point of
Well,
order.
so when you create an agenda, there are certain items on an agenda that the board has the right to just vote on. They don't need the superintendent recommendation. This is a resolution based upon the recommendation of the superintendent to basically create a new position in lieu of the assistant superintendent.
I understand everything
Right.
you said.
So
I'm
I
just
don't
talking
think,
about this vote.
I don't think I've said I've never seen this done before. I've never seen a motion separated before. I've been at thousands of meetings. My recommendation legally is if you don't agree with this, you vote no. If you want to bring up a separate motion later on in new business to abolish a position, the board is free to do that.
No, I understand. I was asking if we can as a point of order, or can we not? Is it something we can do? This vote?
You know what? I can't tell you for certain. My guess is you cannot do it because it is not the resolution that the superintendent's recommending. If you don't want to do this, make a motion to table it and it can be done at a future meeting. This is not something that is urgent and it can be done that way.
Okay.
Madam President, I don't feel comfortable voting on this. This seems, right, like I don't want to have to take a vote on something that we know is not the superintendent's recommendation.
So either you vote no or you vote to table it. That would be my recommendation. But again.
But the president of the board didn't even ask for a second, right? Like that's. Right, like a board member went and did this themselves without asking. for a second.
I've already given my advice. I don't believe a board can separate this into two separate questions. That's not the superintendent's recommendation. Dr. Varley's already made that. She is not recommending,
I'm sorry.
she is not recommending separating the two.
But
I didn't
But
say
it's certainly-
to vote that way.
it's
No, no.
it's
How do
certainly,
we vote at all now on this motion then?
You're not voting on a motion. You
Okay.
had you're voting on the agenda item. The motion to separate and the second, based on my opinion, can't be done because that's
Oh.
not the superintendent's recommendation. I've said
Okay.
that.
So that's my question. So the motion and the second,
No, it's not a motion to table.
there is, okay,
There's no,
Sorry.
the action that is before you is a superintendent's recommendation.
I understand.
If you don't like the superintendent's recommendation, you vote no. You don't have the power to say, we're going to change the superintendent's recommendation into two separate items. That's not her recommendation.
Okay, if we don't have the power, then we can't vote on that.
You can vote on what's before you.
No,
Yes
I-
or no?
I
Or
would
you can
still-
vote to table it.
with all due respect, I have to
You-
disagree with the legal advice here because this is strictly according to Robert's Rules of Order and that's in our bylaws. We follow Robert's Rules of Order. So just a parliamentary thing that you're allowed to do
So-
on any motion
That's,
can be separated.
sir, you're incorrect. So Robert's Rules of Order is used to supplement. But the one thing that's very, very clear is under state law, NJSA 18A, Robert's Rules of Orders does not trump state law. And state law is very clear that the superintendent runs the district. Your job is to make sure it's well run, not to get involved in day-to-day operations. This is a recommendation to the superintendent. She has made a recommendation. You don't have to agree with it. You can vote no, but you do not have the ability to separate her recommendation into two separate items and rely on Robert's Rules of Order to trump state law. State law trumps Robert's Rules. of
State
Order.
law doesn't say anything about this.
It absolutely
What's
says.
the
that-
citation then?
Well, sir, I don't have 18A citation, but what I can tell you is if you look at the code of ethics, it says that you shall vote on the recommendations of the superintendent. It doesn't say that you will break up the superintendent's recommendations. So if you guys are uncomfortable with this, make a motion to table it or vote no. But I do not recommend, I don't believe you have the power to, because you're breaking up this into two separate questions is deviating from what the superintendent is recommending.
Superintendent is recommending two things, abolish and create. We can vote separately on those. That doesn't go against any
You know what,
recommendation.
Madam
It
President.
doesn't
I
go
think you
against
should-
any
I think you should
recommendation. It's
call the
very
roll.
clear.
I've ruled and-
Okay, so based on legal advice and the recommendation of the superintendent, we need to do a roll call on the agenda items.
No, the roll call is on the motion to
We didn't get us.
We have a motion to divide the question. That's
We-
that's on the
We didn't have a
floor right
motion
now.
to divide the question.
Yeah, we did.
We
I had a
didn't.
motion to divide and I had a
Can't
second.
do it.
You have,
We had a
just
motion to
because you
divide.
made
and
a
I had a
motion,
second.
you made a motion
Yeah.
and it was seconded.
Yeah.
You do not have the power to divide the superintendent's recommendation.
I
That
have the
is-
power to make a motion
you have
and
the-
it's been divided. Now I call for a vote.
Yeah, I
Call for a
disagree with
vote.
you.
I
If you
call
want
for
to
a vote.
table it, you can table it, sir.
Okay, I move to table C.